We're ready, Freddie.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. at the Economic Development Authority meeting. It is Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. I call this meeting to order. We do have all members present. We do have a quorum. Item 2.1 is the EDA November 12th, 2024 minutes.
I'll offer a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.1, Administrative Activities, November 2024.
Right. Good morning, President Mark Graff and Commissioners. I'll just highlight a few things in the report for you this morning. I did want to note under the public housing program, Broadway House Apartments had their final solar panel test yesterday, and those have now been switched live. So all the public housing units have their solar panels activated now, and we'll wait and see going forward how much energy they generate and what it does to the utility bills over there. So that is exciting. That project is finally wrapping up. Under the EDA report, I just wanted to maybe have Chris give an update on the EDA lot sale that is still pending.
So the only thing we're currently waiting now on the EDA lots is a zoning letter. We're going through the hurdles. It's going back and forth between the attorneys. The original zoning letter that was sent over was not okay, allowing too much stuff. So we kind of are going through redlining some things. So that's kind of the last document that's holding it up. And then we should be closing either at the end of this month or early next year.
And then the other item we were going to highlight was an update on the Garden Terrace sale, and I'll give that one to Chris again.
So Garden Terrace, we ended up giving them another 6-month amendment to their due diligence period. They are looking working with Oak Hills. Oak Hills wasn't ready to sign any of the documentation that was prepared, so we gave Rebound another 6 months to kind of work through that with Oak Hills to see if that's something that's on the table or not. Oak Hills would like to move forward, but they have to see if it's even financially viable for them to look at leasing or purchasing another building if and when that time comes up. So allowing Oak Hills the opportunity to just speak at their own pace with Rebound directly, not use us as a third party, just kind of speak with them to hammer out those details. We did meet with both with Oak Hills and Rebound the other day, and Oak Hills kind of just explained their situation, where they're at, and kind of why they need a little more time to work through the process with Rebound. So we'll keep you posted. Rebound is still looking, even though they have 6 months, still looking to close sooner rather than later, but they do have a 6-month window now.
And that is why we went ahead and prepared the 2025 Garden Terrace budget, because you never know. So
It's true.
I have a question on the Section 8 housing. We had quite a bit of a loss for December. Is that because we have fewer vouchers out?
yeah, we just have people leaving the program for various reasons, and as much as we're trying to add people to the program every month, some months we do better than others. We did have quite a few new voucher holders go on the program in December, so you'll see that number tick up a little bit next month. But yeah, it's a continual struggle. I would say the biggest obstacle to people going on the program is the lack of available rental units.
Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move to accept the administrative activities report for November of 2024. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.1, Public Housing Utility Allowance Schedules.
All right, Commissioners, this is an annual item. Each year we review the tenant-paid utilities for all of our properties and adjust the utility allowances based on usage, current rates, weather from the prior year. All those different factors go into the calculation. This will be a little bit different compared to prior years in that due to the solar project, tenants at Broadway House no longer pay any utilities. So their utility allowance is being revised to zero, and then going forward, we won't need to review that every year, obviously. So you'll note at Broadway House currently a one-bedroom unit gets a utility allowance of $32. So basically what we do is we figure 30% of their income, and then we reduce that by $32 on their rent. So they, in a sense, had the $32 to apply toward their utility bill each month. And a two-bedroom was $71, and those both are being revised to zero now that they don't pay their electric bill. These new utility allowances will be effective March 1st, 2025, and that's when the Broadway House tenants have their annual recertification. So at that point, then they will no longer get that utility allowance. With the family units, theirs are revised up slightly. As you can see, two-bedroom utility allowance is currently $100. It's being revised to $123. Three bedrooms going from $123 to $144, and a four-bedroom is going from $145 to $169. In the family units, now that they have the solar panels, they still are responsible for gas, water, sewer, and garbage removal. So they will still continue to get a utility allowance. We just took the electric out of that. These will be effective March 1st, but it won't be effective until their annual reviews, which are September 1st. So they will have plenty of notice of the change. It actually is in their favor because the utility allowance is going up. The amount of rent they pay will be adjusted down slightly to accommodate for the higher utility bills.
I'll offer a motion to approve the revised public housing utility allowance schedules effective March 1st, 2025.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4.2, EDA December 2024 claims list.
I'll just note that we're paying the annual pest control contract with Plunkett's for Broadway House and the family units on this claim. And then also there was a change order to Wolf River Electric for the solar panel project for a different type of meter that needed to be installed at the Broadway House property. So those two items made it slightly higher than normal this month.
One question, the cleaning fee, is that a monthly fee?
We have someone that comes in and cleans the common areas of Broadway House once a week. Costs about $175 a week. So some months there's 4, some months there's 5, depending on the calendar that month.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to accept the EDA December 10th, 2024 claims list.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5.1, Wendy Anderson Service Agreement.
All right, as you're aware, we've had an agreement with Wendy Anderson since February of 2022 to provide support for new and existing businesses. The new agreement for the 2025 calendar year includes a $300 a month increase, which we feel is reasonable. The contract also includes 2 training sessions as well as in-house client meetings here at City Hall twice a month. Also includes any follow-ups and travel time. Wendy is here if you have any questions for her. Otherwise, her proposal is attached.
Wendy, can you briefly just talk about what you train in your training sessions?
So we started with trainings for performance and business plans and getting people set up to go to banks. But I've seen a change that they want more marketing training. So I spoke to Heather. I was doing some one-on-one marketing trainings, and I have laryngitis, so excuse me. But so we're looking at doing more marketing trainings, especially in all the new things that are out there. So, yep.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
I have no problem with the increase based on our cost of living and everything. So I'm going to offer a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Wendy Anderson in the amount of $39,600.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Anderson, I do appreciate what you do for our community and the help that you give our businesses. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6.1, 2024 Audited Annual Financial Report.
Good morning. Caveat, normally I always do this presentation, but Danielle oversees the EDA's monthly operations, and she works with the auditors and goes through the audit. So this year she prepared the presentation and was going to do it, but she got delayed this morning, so she couldn't get here on time. But, so I'll go through it. I've been through the financials, I've reviewed them all, I've looked at it, and I've looked at her presentation. So I will answer questions as best I can, and I will present the information that she has in here as best I can. This is just a brief overview, just a reminder. We have the 5 separate funds within the EDA. 260 is the Economic Development Authority. That is the government portion of the funds. The rest are all market rate or business activity funds. So that's Garden Terrace. 265 is the rental property at 320, for now anyway. And then 270 is the Housing Assistance Fund, and 272 is the Public Housing Fund. Looking at the actual, some of the financial numbers, the unrestricted net position was at $85,000 in total for all of the funds. The total net position, I'm sorry, is $628,000. The unrestricted portion is $85,000. So most of our funds are tied up somewhere or restricted for specific uses. And then cash and investments of $152,000. In the business section, the operating revenue increased at $95,000, and the expenses also increased, but only by $8,700. So a good ratio there. This just compares the net position over the last few years. You can see assets are strong, went up again in value, probably mostly due to Westridge Place yet, just hitting that final amount, just hitting everything. And then looking at it by program, you can see that Garden Terrace, which is the largest portion of the market rate housing, houses the largest or the second largest portion of our net position. And then the Public and Indian Housing, which is Broadway House, is actually the largest portion, next to the government funds. Cash and investment balances, the general fund, which is the EDA, in 2022 was much larger. The cash balance has gone down. That had a lot to do with the construction of Westridge Place. And then Public and Indian Housing is the largest portion of that cash investment right now. I think that had a lot to do with the solar project and how some of those funds funneled through everything. Looking at revenues, you can see in the government funds, the revenues have gone up slowly each year. Nothing shocking there, and everything else really is quite steady over the years. Expenses, kind of a roller coaster up and down, but in the business type, they stay pretty steady. So doing good, nothing too out of the ordinary. Any jumps there are related to Westridge Place. And then looking at just the government portion, the revenues increased by $263,000. That includes transfers in. So when we do those transfers from Garden Terrace to help cover those shortages, that is where that revenue takes that spike. And then the expenses went down by $178,000. And so the net position increased by $555,000 in the government funds. Revenues for Broadway House increased $239,000. Again, that is transfers, and those are the transfers related to the solar panel project. So those are the capital grants that were transferred in to help cover that project. And then expenses increased by $4,800, and their net position went up $314,000. Looking at the Section 8 housing vouchers, the revenue increased by $43,000, expenses increased by $39,000, net position increased by $39,000. So the revenue and expense changes very closely paced each other. So. Looking at market rate housing, so at Garden Terrace, you can see revenues increased by $59,000. That was due to an increase in interest and an increase in rent. Expenses increased to $182,000, and that included a transfer to the EDA fund. And the net position decreased $288,000, again related to those transfers. Looking at the rental property, the revenues decreased by $20,000 and expenses decreased by $83,000. So overall, net position increased by $8,700. And the capital assets, not including, with depreciation, you can see the land value went up, the land improvements went up, buildings and improvements stayed steady, and furniture and equipment increased some. And then we did have some findings. Overall, we had an unmodified opinion, so that was good. There was 4 instances of noncompliance, and they were all related to the Westridge Place and how we contracted and how we bidded those. The EDA is not accustomed to doing those projects that large where we need to do those sealed bids and meet all those requirements. Now we're aware of those if we ever do them again. Is the solar
project,
yeah.
not Westridge.
Oh, did I say Westridge? I meant solar. I'm sorry. I was thinking solar. So we've addressed all of those. We've made note of those. If we ever do a project of that size again, we'll understand the complete scope and we'll make sure we get all of those necessary documents. And then there were no deficiencies in internal control. So like I said, we had an unmodified opinion, so that's good. And that's all. Any questions?
I did have a question. So some of it was already answered with what you had mentioned here, but there are a few places where it talked about how our budget was way out of, our actuals were way skewed from what the budget was. Is it possible every month for us to get a budget to actuals so we see what's happening month to month?
Yeah, we could modify the reports that you pull or look at together. The budgets aren't in.
Don't we put those in the reports each month? In the admin report would be the housing programs, and in the economic development.
Because you're running an income statement, right, when you run that? And I thought that had budget on there as well. But if not, I can help Heather find those reports.
I'm looking just for a simple
Yep.
budget with revenues and expenses all together.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look at the reports that we do now, and maybe we need to tweak those a little bit if it's not including all of that.
I just had one comment about the solar thing. I was thinking that might be where we just had the one bid, but we had asked for another bid, and didn't
Yeah, it
someone
wasn't
not?
about the number of bids or
okay.
asking for the bids. It was more about the documents that were included in those bids. Like we didn't ask for, I don't remember what that was.
I think we're supposed to require
Performance bond, insurance.
yeah.
That, and that just, it wasn't included.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, usually the projects I do are way lower dollar amount than this project, where those extra items don't apply.
Okay.
And so it was just lack of experience in a project that size where those items got missed by me.
All right.
Engineering and other departments deal with large projects like that all the time, so they know to get that extra documentation.
Yeah, and I don't do those projects. I don't have to do the bidding, so I wasn't aware of all the documentation that was required either. Okay.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments, I'll make a motion to receive the 2024 audited annual financial report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7.1, Economic Development Activity Report.
All right. I will just note a few things. The New Ulm Partnership met last month and had a discussion on housing trust funds, kind of as a result of an article that was in the Mankato Free Press about what they're doing over there. Since that time, internal staff has met with Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership to get some additional information, and I think we'll continue to have those discussions to see if that's something we feel is appropriate for our community, and maybe bring it to you for further action down the road. The child care team hosted the annual Child Care Provider Appreciation and Training Weekend. That was very well attended again this year, and the feedback we get from providers is that they really appreciate being able to get so many of their required training hours all in one weekend, or most of their training hours in one weekend, and they hope that we'll continue offering that, which we do intend to do. We are going to switch it to the spring going forward because of some changes at the state. It used to be that providers had to have their training by their anniversary date of when they got licensed, but now they're putting everyone on a calendar year. And so we have some type A providers that are going to want to knock that out earlier in the year and not wait until November. So we'll be turning around and planning that again to offer in, I believe, in the month of April is what we're shooting for. Note under the commercial property rehab loan program, we received one new application. Note under the small business incentive grant program, application cycle opened November 1st and will continue to be open through the end of the year. During the month of November, we received 6 applications. And then under other, we just have continued to have meetings regarding the Garden Terrace sale, and 2 business outreach visits were completed. So it was actually a pretty light month, but I was out 2 days because of the election. We had Veterans Day and 2 days off for Thanksgiving, so it was really a light work month.
You going to mention your handprints back there?
Oh, yes, thank you. Also, because we are going to be celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Westridge Place being open, on the back table there, if you want to take a look on your way out, oh, thanks, Mike. We did get some artwork by the kiddos out there with their handprints. So we'll be displaying that publicly and on social media.
I'll offer a motion to accept the Economic Development Activity Report for November 2024.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have no further agenda items. This meeting is
Can
adjourned.
I have just a couple minutes before you do that? Before you hit the gavel?
Completely forgot. This is your last meeting.
After 16 years, this is my last EDA meeting. So I've seen this group of people change over 2 or 3 different times. And just want to thank all of you for your dedication to this board and what we've done. I remember when I first sat on here, all we talked about was housing, and we were building houses in Milford and not doing the best job, but we were trying. And then we moved to daycare and moved to different things. So this is one of the committees that I really enjoyed being a part of because we've been able to make change and do things differently. And I'm going to encourage you all to keep and continue to do that, to take chances, to take risks, to take that first step forward and see what happens. I think, you know, one of the only areas that I've had concern about is we sold Garden Terrace, but we have no plan. So now we've got millions of dollars we're going to have sitting in the bank, and we don't really have a plan. So I hope that this group comes up with a plan and figures out where we're going to go with that. Some suggestions might be to buy some land in the industrial park area. And, you know, when we got the 4-lane that came in, there was a lot of talk about some businesses wouldn't come here because we didn't have the 4-lane. Well, now we do. There's been a lot of talk about places that storage facilities type thing, and we have a huge trucking business in this community. And could we do something down on Front Street or in that J&R Schugel area where there's a lot of the trucks? And just some thoughts, just some things that kind of were in my head this morning about what was I going to say. But again, I want to thank all of you. I encourage you to continue to reach forward and move on and do great things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Les, on behalf of the City of New Ulm, thank you for your dedicated service. We will miss his questions
No, you won't.
and your
No, you won't.
suggestions, but most of all, we'll miss you. Your presence at the table has added a lot to this forum, and best wishes in your future. I know that you're not retired.
Not retired.
Okay.
Semi-retired.
Thanks again for all your service.
Thank you.
Anything else from Les?
No more questions.
Thank you very much for your service, not only on the city council, but on this commission as well. All right, there being no further agenda items, this meeting is adjourned.